I bought a cargo van thinking that I was going to start a business, not knowing that would be my home for 3.5 years. I ran away from home at the age of 11, so by the time I was 18, graduated from high school, I had built a $1 million machine out in the streets.
What do you mean you built $1 million
machine?
Yeah.
The universe put the product in my hand. I still to this day hear my grandma's voice. When we eat, everybody eats. She put values in me that I carry even today. I accidentally shot my best friend in the head. We taking pictures, man, and went straight through his head. He lived, though. God, thank God. He's blind, man. He's blind. And that really would change my life.
So I ended up homeless. I'm in Hollywood. A little bit scared about Skid Row, right? Because I come from the television industry. Now I'm on the streets.
Okay. The hurricane hit my life, man. Spiral. I found myself homeless. He told me, you need to go to the Skid Row, Pastor Blue. Skid Row. I never heard of Skid Row.
Pastor Blue calls his work on Skid Row a house of love and a home for all. I love that. Through his Blue Hollywood Street Sanctuary, he's bringing faith to the streets, not through sermons, but through compassion. In this episode, we talk about what it really means to love people right where they are and how Christianity and caring for people who use drugs aren't opposites. They're the same gospel in action. Pastor Blue.
Yes, sir.
Honored to meet you.
Likewise, my brother.
We have a mutual friend, yes. Soma.
Yes.
Who speaks highly of you.
She's an angel.
Yeah, and I know very little bit of your story, a little brief, but not a lot. Okay. I figured you could give me the 411 while we're doing this podcast.
Ooh, okay.
So tell me about Pastor Blue.
Where do I start? Well, what I do at Blue Hollywood Street Sanctuary, well, we consider everybody a star. A house of love, a home for all, is, in a nutshell, I believe, community building. And where I get that from, that would be my grandma. I got that from grandma. So I come from Atlanta, Georgia, small but tight-knit community by the name of Kirkwood. I ran away from home at a young age, at 11 years old, and I almost got caught up in the system, but my grandmother, she decided to step in, and she put values in me that I carry even today. I still to this day hear my grandma's voice, let your light shine, 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 while she's in the kitchen whipping biscuit for the entire community. She put something in my heart. She used to say, when we eat, everybody eat. And I didn't understand that, being from, at that time, Kirkwood was a very impoverished community, and having so little, I didn't understand how she would do that, but she was known for taking care of the whole community. So it was times where I go in the backyard and I see my granddad friends, my dad's friends, my friends, and everybody community as one. Well, she did keep me in school, but she couldn't keep me out the street. So I did find myself in the street, and by the time I was 18, graduated from high school, I had built a $1 million machine out in the street. So I took care of a lot of people just with their same values, and being able, I was fortunate enough to be reared even in the streets by some concrete, solid people. It was.
What do you mean you built $1 million
machine?
Yeah.
What happened in on the east side of Atlanta at that time, when I entered high school, they combined all of the east side schools. So that kind of put the whole East Atlanta in the same place at the same time. And like I said, I ran away from home at the age of 11. So I didn't never want to be without water and lights again, and hungry. Right. Even though grandma took care of food, but if you wanted a polo shirt or some Nike shoes,
Right.
you had to get a
hustle.
job. Right. Well, she didn't know I was hustling, but that's a whole nother story.
Yeah.
I was, and what I mean is collectively, man, with a group of still my brothers, man. It wasn't just I can't sit here and take all the credit. It's just that the universe at that time put the product in my hand,
Right.
and I had built a team of brothers and sisters that knew how to get rid of the product. So we had a $1 million machine going on. I used to go to school and take everybody in the lunch from all my my classmates. But anyway, what I'm getting at, it was the seed that grandma dropped in me about, when I eat, everybody eat, and the seed that even my OGs put in me, like I couldn't see Mark lacking, and I had. It was law that I had to help you.
Right.
It's law if you get out of prison. It's law if I have it, I gotta get it. These are values that I take today, and that helps me to do
values that we need to bring back.
Oh my God, if we can just interject that, man. And at the core of it, it's just love. And that's another thing Grandma told me. Love starts at home and it spreads abroad.
Yeah.
She taught me how to.
I like it, Grandma.
Hey, I still here. She around here somewhere. But yeah, she taught me things that I carry with me to this day, that we're all family. Like, I can't look at no man and not see a reflection of myself, no matter what color, creed, or religion. So those kind of values that I take with me, I took with me in the streets. Late 97, I had what we call a visitation. Our song would call it a visitation and enlightenment. And that transitioned my life from that street arena into the church arena.
Okay.
And I just left. Yeah, I left that, and I was so excited about this new vein of love I felt like I had ventured into. I did some prison time, just rewind a little bit. I did some prison time, and I gravitated to Islam because the unity that I saw at that time.
Right.
So those are values that I took. But once I got my visitation or my enlightenment, I entered into that Christianity arena and kind of like excel. The Spirit dealt with me expeditiously in 2004. 2004, we opened the doors of my church.
Still in the Atlanta area?
Still in Atlanta. Market, it's a whole, like, how I got to that point, and it just took me back because the day we opened the doors of our church was January the 11th, 2004. January the 11th, 1997, I accidentally shot my best friend in the head, and not knowing if he's gonna live or die, man. But he knew I was a convicted felon. I shouldn't have a firearm.
Right.
He knew that he was prison involved. He told authority that he did it to himself, man. He told the police that he did it to himself to keep me from 357. We taking pictures, man, and went straight through his head. I held his eyes in my hand, man. He lived, though. God, thank God. He's blind, man. He's blind. He's in Alabama. He's a minister, man. I call him the blind prophet, and we still like this, man. We still like this, man. But that was a love, man, that I didn't know. I had never experienced, man. And that really what changed my life. And then back to January the 11th, 111. And it's crazy that my whole family had ones. These ones are very significant. And when I said January 11th, 2004 is when I opened my ministry. It was called Deeds of Love Christian Tabernacle. It was the anniversary of the accident, and the first person that walked in was my buddy. So and next year Hurricane Katrina hit New Orleans, and the hurricane hit my life, man, and spiraled. I went through a divorce. My oldest son was like 2 at a time, and my youngest he wasn't even 1. I'm sorry, man.
Oh, you're fine, man. You are fine.
He wasn't 1. Had to close the doors of the church, and it was all because of me, man. Lying, cheating. I was going on the bridges, because the homeless situation in Atlanta is kind of different. It's under the bridges and places that you got to know somebody. So I was doing all of this, man. I was doing my service, going into the jails, because I was licensed now, so I can go and pull people out and talk to them. So I'm doing all this, but I was cheating. I was,
Right.
I had made a vow, and I was going against the vow, but
Yeah.
caused a hurricane in my life as well. I ended up on the shores of California. Some 13 maybe years later, I came here in 2018, moved to Hollywood Boulevard. A little depressed because of all the situation and everything that had happened. So I was kind of down. I bought a cargo van, thinking that I was going to start a business, not knowing that would be my home for 3.5 years. But
wow. Did you stay in Hollywood?
I stayed on Hollywood Boulevard, right?
Because that's, I was homeless in Hollywood.
When you said that, I was like,
We've
wow.
got a lot in common. I mean, we're here to learn your story, but right down to the grandmother. My mom, I used to sell drugs, about 10 to 20 pounds a week. Okay. And then I had a bunch of, marijuana. And I had a bunch of kids in school that sold the dime bags, and I did the big ones too. You know what I mean?
Right on.
And we're all partying.
Right on.
And my parents knew something was up, and they weren't well off. They weren't poor, but they weren't well off. And I would go upstairs and I'd say, "Mom, can we all eat?" And there'd be like 7 of us, and she'd say, "Well, I'll just make more salad." Right? Because she didn't have any more pork chops or whatever she was cooking. Right. But she had lettuce. Right. You know what I mean? Right. So she would make these huge salads, and we're all wasted, smoking dope, 14, 15 years old. Right. And we get around the table, and my parents, had to have candles, had to pray, all that, those are the memories that, as you're telling your story, I was like, oh gosh, we have a few things in common. Yeah. Okay? And Hollywood's an acquired taste for anybody, right? I still like Hollywood. I still love Hollywood, I should say. But I think if you look at homelessness, I mean, back then, I remember, I'm going to tell you a story. Mm-hmm. So I ended up homeless. I'm in Hollywood, a little bit scared about Skid Row, right? Because I come from the television industry, and now I'm on the streets. Okay. A little bit scared of Skid Row. Or downtown, and now I live here, right? And I'll never forget this. Somebody told me, or you had to go down, to get your GR check, right? To sign up to get your GR check, and you get some food stamps or whatever. And they also gave hotel vouchers, which you would stay in Skid Row, right? I don't know if they still do that. I don't know, but I've
heard stories.
Yeah. So I was on the bus going down, and somebody out of the blue who I'd never seen before, I never met this person, so there's no way he could know where I was going, right? And they came back to the bus, or to the back to where I was sitting, and they said, "Don't get the hotel vouchers. You'll die in Skid Row." And to me, it was an angel, because you think there's angel, right? And I'm not spooky, right? But you think angels is like this angelical, Michael coming down from the heavens, and you know what I mean? This is just some dude, right? It didn't look like much of nothing, but and I paid attention, and I got back on the bus and went back up to Hollywood. Okay. And I think at that particular time, where I was in my addiction, and where I was, because my thing was I hung out with outlaw bikers.
Okay.
Right, and so I knew crime, I knew criminals, I knew how to do bad and all that, but I was never on the streets. Okay. That was a whole new education, as you know, right? So that was my learning of homelessness and how to survive.
Okay.
Yeah. As homelessness grows, people are getting frustrated, and they're pushing for laws that criminalize homelessness, which will only make the problem worse. Invisible People reaches more people, educating them on homelessness than all other homeless sector nonprofits and campaigns combined. But we do it on a limited budget. We don't have the funding they do. We are mostly funded by individual donations. And now that the economy is struggling, individual donations are disappearing, and we need you. I get it. You might not have the money to donate. Many people are struggling right now. Please share our content, share our videos. It really matters. And if you do have some funds and want to help be part of the solution to solve homelessness, please visit invisiblepeople.tv/donate. Our important work stops without you.
When, like I said, I stayed on Hollywood Boulevard, but because of a failed relationship and not enough income, I found myself homeless on Hollywood Boulevard. But at the time, when I came, like I said, I wanted to start new, fresh, get away from Atlanta. But I was like, to be honest with you, more just totally depressed because of all those different situations. So the first 6 months of being here, I really was blind to the homeless situation. I was just trying to see if I can get some jobs with this cargo van, and I wasn't even paying attention. And it was at the point of actually going back home, I called this same friend that I was telling you about.
Right.
I called this same friend, kind of poured my heart out to him. We prayed, and I took off walking down Hollywood Boulevard. And it's like scales dropped off my eyes, and I can see all of this prosperity among all this poverty, man. And it kind of ignited that pastor in me. I started in serving in the homeless community in Hollywood. I would get oatmeal pies and water, and my whole thing was oatmeal better than no meal at all. But I would actually start relationships, and they knew me out there, Pastor Blue, and maybe 6 months after that, someone he told me, you need to go to Skid Row, Pastor Blue. Skid Row, I never heard of Skid Row. I came to Skid Row. When I got there, I walked up, I parked on San Julian 6, walked up San Pedro the 5th, and I met who is now my deacon and who is the co-founder of Blue Hollywood, a guy by the name of Hollywood. He was selling shots. I bought everybody a shot, and the minister in me spoke immediately that the harvest is plenteous, but the laborers are few. It's a lot of work you can serve. So I didn't stay in. I went back to Hollywood. Maybe 2 weeks later, now I have the knowledge of the showers and the resources that in Skid Row.
Yeah.
A young lady coming from Ohio and off the bus in Hollywood. We met. She needed a shower. I take her to Skid Row, and I land right where I'm at now in 6th and Crocker. And also the guy that I had met 2 weeks ago has a tent in that same section. And we came together. I started cooking out of my van. I was staying right in my van, right on the block. Started cooking out of the van, started a relationship with the community, took my shoes off and jumped in the mud. And now we have tree grass rooted and boots to the ground, but we kind of consider ourselves tree rooted. We jumped, took our shoes off and jumped in the mud with the community and just.
How long ago was that?
And that was 2019.
Okay.
A year after I got here, like 6 months after that relationship failed. I found myself living in the van. Before I know it, I'm on Skid Row, and we found what we call Blue Hollywood Street Sanctuary, where everybody's a star, man.
Right. I didn't know where the Hollywood came from, but that's your friend's name.
That's my friend name.
Right, now it all makes sense.
I moved to Hollywood from the beginning, and it was him and I that co-found. But the whole idea is a place where everybody's important.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Well, tell me about it, because all I know is a little bit that Soma told us, and I want to talk about this at some point, because you do harm reduction work.
Yes.
And you're a pastor.
Yes.
And you're doing harm reduction work.
Yes.
Because that's what Jesus would do.
That was Jesus would do.
Right.
I totally
but
agree.
So many, it looks like we're going there, but so many Christians, are against harm reduction.
Yeah, because, see, in my opinion, it's so many Christians that trying to be like, I won't say like Mike, because that's basketball, but so many Christians trying to be in that position.
Yeah.
When Jesus go to the highways and hedges, he said, I'm going to send you sheep among wolves. Get out there. Right. He came in on a donkey. No, I'm sure he could have came in on a 12-horse chariot. He could have rode a Bentley, but he chose to come in on a donkey, and I aspire to be like him.
Yeah.
I aspire. And he didn't put a religion on what he was doing.
Yeah.
He said that you'll know my disciples by the love that they have for one another.
Yeah.
That's how I know that Summer is my sister.
Right.
That's how I know you, my brother, because of the attribute of love that you have, the concern you have for humanity. So, I went through the church arena, and it has its place. But I think to truly tap into the essence of Christ, you have to take the ceiling off them buildings.
Yeah.
You got to get out of there. You got to take. Yeah. And it's a lot of things that I bring to the community that's teaching from Christ that has kept a hedge. It's kept people in darkness or feeling ashamed because they have a sip of wine. And Christ, or if they smoke a little something, and Christ said it ain't what goes in you that defiles you, what comes out.
Right.
So a lot of people in my community, the community that we so much love, are burdened down with church issues, society scales that just needs, man, don't look at it like that. Don't look. And as we build this community, I found that, first of all, the whole world is in Skid Row.
Yeah.
Now, the majority is black and brown. We know that. But when I say the whole world, I just about have met somebody from our way.
Yes.
We consider, we have been coined, because right now, if you ever come down, I want you to come down and see the sanctuary. Yeah. But right now we are flying all Palestine flags because of what's going on, the genocide. But we usually have a flag from different nations. So we've been coined also not only Blue Hollywood Street Sanctuary, but Ground Zero for worldwide unity. And that's kind of like the
Ground Zero for worldwide unity.
And I really love that. Yeah, I really think that Skid Row is the ideal place because everybody's eyes is on the penthouse. you know, and while we got something boiling in the bottom that's gonna inject this world, I think that exactly what the world needs to change. The love, the unity that you find in communities like that, that's overshadowed by all the darkness and all the negativity that the community receive. So
my introduction to harm reduction, are you familiar with Insight? It's the first supervised consumption site in North America.
Okay.
And I was working with the Canadian government, going to do a road trip. They said the only place you can't go is Insight. And I was like, well, you got a big country. That's cool. Only one place. I didn't even pay attention. And they sent me there for a food program, right? Not the harm reduction.
Okay.
And all of a sudden, I'm in this room, and there's addicts shooting up. And I'm an ex-drug addict, so I'm feeling a little bit uncomfortable.
Okay.
But then I started feeling the unconditional love. So at one point, because I had this reputation of being an expert in church growth, I've been in so many churches.
Okay.
I've been in AA meetings, NA meetings, all kinds of different. I never felt the unconditional love like I did at Insight. It's still my favorite place because of that. And that was, you had drug addicts who could be in a wheelchair, all dirty, or in a suit and tie. Because addiction doesn't discriminate.
Definitely.
Right? And so love shouldn't discriminate either.
Exactly.
And then you have clinicians who are the doctors, and then you have admin staff. And if someone is having a heart, you can't tell who's who.
Okay.
You don't know who is who.
Right.
And then when someone's having a heart attack, the clinicians kick in.
Got you.
But otherwise, everybody is equal.
Right.
Everybody is loved on.
Right.
Interesting part of that is I shared on social media. The Canadian government saw it, and they said, we haven't paid you yet. Okay, they're slapping me down because I went, right? So then they had me go to Calgary, and there was a Christian nurse that wrote an article, who worked there, about why, she says, why I help addicts shoot up in the neck as a Christian nurse. And it was all about, because Jesus would. Right, because it saves lives. Right. And then so I told the Canadian government, I said, "Screw you! You don't have to pay me anymore. I'm going to do this story," and I become a harm reduction advocate ever since, and it's because of the love.
Oh man, yes. The very name sanctuary, it means refuge, a safe place. So from day one, we've been practicing harm reduction. Have stood in between numerous gang fights. Had to, referee numerous.
See it all.
Oh yeah. So beyond, or even before I got into what we know as harm reduction, we always practice harm reduction. But seeing, especially with the fentanyl and that crisis, seeing so many people, Mark, that I sit down and I talked to, had conversation, relationship with, dying. Hundreds of people I've known from the community dying. It was like news every day. We wake up and the conversation was, well, who did we lose last night? Blue Hollywood, ourselves, we had over 100 overdoses, but just thank God that we had no fatalities, because of the harm reduction items that we have. We have the Narcans, we have the clean needles, we have the clean everything that we need to keep an individual safe. People, and especially for my Christian sisters and brothers, because they are my sisters and brothers that don't understand it. It's either you never experienced it,
right,
You were sheltered from it. You don't have any family that's out here any kind of way, and just you perish because of the lack of knowledge.
Yeah.
My people perish because of the lack of knowledge. And if you was in tune with what happens out here in the street, and in tune with people,
Right.
People are people.
Right.
He's pumping the same blood that need the same love and care. The people that decide to go to church every Sunday and Wednesday, and that's how you do. That's just, and we want to love on you as well. But it's a whole world that needs harm reduction and the type of love that, like you say, I believe that Jesus would be doing.
People don't understand. They think that addiction is a switch, right? They can turn off and on. And I always say, you know, how you doing with that chocolate cake, right? Did you step away from it? Right. You know, and some people get that, some people don't. But what I've always tried to share and educate, and I don't know if I ever do a good job, but I think the change is people abuse drugs. People use drugs to escape pain. And you have to treat the person, not the addict. So there's some reason, there's some trauma. Could have been before homelessness, could have been after homelessness. But there's some reason that person is suffering, so then they turn to alcohol, crack, heroin, fentanyl to escape that pain. And then that creates more problems in a vicious circle, and dead addicts don't recover. You know?
Dead addicts don't recover.
And you got to be able to keep people alive, because you once did drugs. I once did drugs. And we're both here because we had a chance to survive. We need to always provide the opportunity for people to survive, no matter what their addiction is.
Right. I totally agree with you. And I think that the reason behind a lot of people that I know and that I serve on a daily basis it's because of the pain. But all in all, they need, like you said, you had your experience, I had my experience, and at our appointed time, it was a change.
Oh, it was good for a while. I had some fun.
What you talking about? Definitely. And it was, and I think the heavens, because you are able to sympathize, empathize with people, and have that mindset of the change will come when it's that person time. So I'm going to love on a person where they are in that moment.
I have a friend, Ian, who says recovery works best when people want to recover.
Definitely.
That's very true. So if I was going to go down, what am I going to find at the street sanctuary? Tell me about it.
Man.
You know, I mean, I assume you're feeding people. You know, I mean, you got a community. How many people? What's going on? What's a day like at the street sanctuary?
What's a day like at the street sanctuary? A normal day at the street sanctuary, we always have something going on, Mark, to be honest. Every second Saturday, we do what we call a birthday bash, where we celebrate everybody's birthday in the community. Everybody's birthday in that community, we just barbecue, have the games going, you know, just community. Every Thursday, we do coffee and haircuts. I cut hair for the community. But every day, we have dominoes going, we have cars going, we have music playing, we have people come by just want prayer. We always giving out the harm reduction items. We have 5 canopies where we have chairs out where the community come, eat, drink, smoke. We just keep it peaceful. We try to be unified. It's a clean area. We always have water. We open 24 hours. Always somebody there to serve. Giving away blankets and tents. And that's I gotta salute Sidewalk Project and Soma again, because those type of partners, being able to, collaborate with those type, man, it's a great help. So yeah. Come down. You got to come down.
We
man,
will. We will.
Yeah.
Is there anything you'd like to add?
I would like to say I appreciate you, man, for bringing me and inviting me out. I thank Summer for connecting us, man, and just continue to inject love into this universe, man, and we'll soon see that utopia.
Yeah, and how do people find you?
You can find me by Instagram at Street Pastor Blue. Also, we'll have our website at www.Blue Hollywood Street Sanctuary. Instagram also, Blue Hollywood Street Sanctuary. Yeah.
Great.
Reach out.
Oh, we will.
I appreciate you.
I appreciate you, and thank you for spending the time.
It was a pleasure, sir. Yes, sir.